Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you once again for joining us on the United Regionals Chamber's weekly update. We try to bring you on some interesting guests and some different subjects. And one of the subjects that has really come to the forefront of a lot of folks, especially since COVID, is mental health. We all know somebody that has struggled a little bit with mental health, and it's something that people are afraid to talk about. So today, I'm pleased to bring on Miss Kristyn Kowalski. She is a licensed psychotherapist, and she's going to explain and talk to us about a little bit about some of the misconceptions. What you expect. There isn't the couch anymore. You don't go sit in and lay down on the couch and tell everybody. So, Miss Kristyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jack.
We appreciate it. Now, first off, tell us about you.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm a licensed mental health counselor specializing in anxiety disorders, OCD, and phobias for 16 older. I've been a therapist for 10 years, and I opened my solo practice 4.5 years ago. I see people in person at my office in North Attleboro, Massachusetts, on East Washington Street, the Tower Square building. And I also meet virtually with people throughout Massachusetts and Rhode Island.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, people are afraid, maybe a little bit embarrassed, to talk about this. But what are some of the common misconceptions about therapy? And then tell us what's the reality.
Yeah, so there's quite a few different misconceptions about therapy. So, one of the ones I've heard is that therapy is only for people with really serious mental illness. And then the reality is that therapy can help with a variety of concerns and difficulties. It's also better to address something sooner rather than later and before waiting for things to get really bad. So, it can help with even just general stress, burnout, life changes, as well as what some may consider more serious mental health issues like bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, OCD, things like that. Another misconception is, oh, therapists just listen while you vent. Uh, Seeing a therapist is a lot different than just venting to a friend. So it could be a very active, like structured process, like the approach I use, where you learn tools, strategies, how to make some behavior and thought changes to make the change you're looking for in your life. It could also be more of a supportive kind of thing where you're talking through some of the stressors. Another is therapy takes years to work. No, you don't have to go to once a week therapy for the rest of your life when you start. There are a lot of short term approaches, and there are also some longer term ones if you are looking for some longer term therapy. And the last one, kind of touching on what you said, Jack, there is a lot of stigma still around mental illness. So some people feel like, if I go to therapy, that means I'm weak or I just can't handle it on my own. But that's really not the case. Seeing a therapist is actually a great sign of self awareness and strength. So, just like seeing a coach for fitness or a financial advisor for money management, therapy is a proactive way to improve your mental well being.
Well, as you mentioned, the stigma and things, what can somebody expect, when they first start seeing a therapist?
Yeah, so when you first start seeing a therapist, that like first session itself is really all about you. So that's where we're talking more about some of the things that you're seeking therapy for, going over some background information to help really get an overall picture of what's going on, what brings you in, and other factors that may be contributing. So this is like some background history, things like that, and also talking about your goals for therapy. Because if you're going to take the time out of your day to come to therapy, want to make sure it's useful for you and that we're on the same page about what you're looking to get out of it. Um, so you don't have to get into everything all at once either. Gradually you could share what you feel comfortable with and share at your pace, and it's okay if you're not quite ready to talk about something or dig in deep. Also, it's a judgment free zone, it's a confidential space. So it's okay to talk about those things, especially if they're things that you may be afraid to open up to close family, friends, significant others about. So everything discussed there is confidential. Of course, there are limits to confidentiality, which your therapist should go over with you. But overall, it's very confidential. And again, clarifying those expectations and goals. It's a very collaborative process. So I like to tell my clients, we're a team. You know you best. I know the approach and the tools best. And together we're going to combine our knowledge and work together as a team so we can get you to where you want to be in life.
Well, and I know that you're located right here in North Attleboro at the Tower Square. I think we got a graphic that James will pop up there in a minute. So you're very convenient, and like you said, you also will do this over Zoom or whatever meeting space you choose. So, what should someone look for when they're choosing the right therapist for their needs?
Yeah, so there's a few different factors that you really want to take into consideration. So, for example, specialization and approach. So, some therapists may see a wide variety of mental health concerns, different populations, things like that. Some things like, relationship stress, depression, um, you may be okay meeting with someone who's more of a generalist and sees a wide variety of concerns. But for some disorders, you really want to see a specialist. So, for example, like OCD, phobias, trauma, those you may want to see someone who specializes in certain approaches that are really shown to help with those. So, like for OCD and phobias, for example, you really want to see exposure therapy and exposure response prevention so that you could really make sure you're getting the results you're looking for. Those are really niche areas, and you want to make sure the person that you're seeing has the training and experience you need. Also, comfort and fit. If you don't feel comfortable with who you're sitting across from, that's going to make it hard for you to really open up and get the maximum benefit. So, you really want to feel comfortable. And it's okay. Sometimes you need to do a few phone calls, consults, or meet with a few different therapists to help ensure that you're getting someone that, okay, this drives well with me. I feel comfortable with this person. Their approach is what I'm looking for. They have experience in what I need. There's also some different practical considerations. So, do you want virtual or in person? Some people know, like, I definitely want in person. I don't feel comfortable doing virtual. Other people really find um, the convenience and comfortability meeting over like a Zoom type situation better for them. It helps fit into their day, or they may feel more comfortable rather than driving into an office or seeing someone in person. It could also provide like added privacy too, so you don't have to worry about running into someone you know. Also, insurance. So maybe you need to see somebody who's in network, or maybe you have out of network benefits. A lot of people do have out of network benefits and they don't even realize it. So that can really expand your horizons to make sure you're getting to see someone that is a good fit for you, especially if you need someone with a specialization. And lastly, the therapist philosophy. So some therapists focus more on like symptom management. Some focus more on drawing connections to, childhood, or like you mentioned, Jack, with the typical Freudian laying on the couch talking about your mom or your childhood or your
Right.
dreams or something.
Right.
Some people that's a philosophy that they can get behind and that works well for them. Other people want to really address root causes or like shorter term therapy. So, taking that into consideration as well.
Well, I know a previous conversation that you and I had, because I asked if somebody comes to you and you're meeting with them, but you feel that you're not the right person to help them. You have a network of other providers that you would recommend?
Yes, yes. So I'm very fortunate to know a lot of different therapists, both Mass and Rhode Island, that specialize in a variety of treatments, different disorders, mental health concerns. So if I'm meeting with someone and I'm like, I don't think I'm the right fit, I have a network of people I could refer them to make sure that they are getting the best fit. Because again, stepping outside of your comfort zone to even reach out to someone or say, maybe even to yourself, like, you know what, I think I should start seeing a therapist. That takes a lot of courage. That's a big step. And, we want to make sure that you don't get discouraged and that you do follow through with reaching out and getting the help you need. So if, you meet with a few people and you're like, this one didn't work, this one didn't work, it's okay. Go for a few sessions, and if it's not a good fit, it's okay to say so and meet with somebody different. And when you meet with that therapist that's the right one for you, you'll know, you'll be like, okay, this was worth meeting with those other therapists. Now I figured it out.
Awesome. Well, Kristyn, thanks for taking the time to make things a little clearer for our folks as far as a visit to a therapist, or at least a conversation. Any final thoughts before we close?
Um, just, don't hesitate. Don't wait for things to get really, really bad before you think about seeking therapy. Do a little research, know some options. And I know it can be hard, but, let's reduce the stigma. Let's talk about these things. It's okay to open up to people and say, like, hey, you know what? You mentioned you were in therapy before. I'm looking for a therapist. Any pointers? So let's all be there to help each other.
Awesome. Well, Kristyn Kowalski, thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show today. Again, big shout out to James Friedman and the team over there at AACS for putting up with me every week. We truly appreciate what they do. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you for having me.